This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency space.
Yeah, boy!
My guest today is Daniel, also known as Al. He is the CEO and the co-founder of the 0x Nodes cross-chain yield aggregation network. Welcome to the show, Mr. Al.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. Hey, excited to talk with you today. Just to begin with, I think it'd be good just to understand a little bit about what your background is, anything you want to share. So, Mr. Al, how you doing?
Pretty good. Definitely. Thanks for having us here. I'm an old school tech junkie. Been working in tech for a better part of 2 decades now, and really excited to be working in decentralized finance.
Yeah, there's some good buzz building around 0x nodes, but it's it's a little bit of a tricky one as well to kind of explain at a high level. So I think to begin with, love you to just kind of fill us in on what 0x nodes is.
Yeah, we are a cross-chain yield aggregation network. We want to enable that end user and retail user to stick on the platform that they're most comfortable with or that they like the most, and then still get the benefit without having to go through bridges and hops and wrapping and unwrapping their tokens all over the place. And how do we sort of make this experience of having BSC, Matic, and a flourishing EVM network that's operating as a walled garden right now more accessible to users that are just getting started in DeFi or crypto, and how do we present opportunities to them to make this a seamless and easy to use experience?
So kind of one of the key ideas here is, a blockchain interoperability and, access to yield aggregation strategies across the DeFi ecosystem, but kind of making it easier for the end user to kind of bridge across the blockchains. That's the big idea, right?
Right. From any node on any chain, the user should be able to move their assets in there and then initiate a yield aggregation strategy on a remote chain or a local chain.
And so what's the background here to the project? I'd love to hear a little bit about the origin story of 0x Nodes in terms of, how long you guys have been building here, what kind of team you guys have behind you and what is really involved.
So I guess the origin story really starts back in DeFi summer 2020. Swanson was involved, and we had a sort of kind of a case study where we threw out a project. We airdropped a super supply token on the community and threw up a LP staking farm and single asset staking, and kind of participated in DeFi summer 2020 that way. A couple things didn't work out with that project and ran into some development bottlenecks, and so we took a step back and really said, okay, this is fun and all, but like, what are the real problems that we're experiencing on market? So we went back to the drawing board and kind of looked at where the market's going, where the market has been, and what technology or protocol can we deploy to this market to really help it flourish. So we said, a couple of things like we didn't like about the first project we were involved with, and that was like the anonymous devs, this anonymous team. And so, really from the get-go, my ethos and the projects that I'm involved with is in a world of scams, to be a standout is to be legitimate and just do the best that you can with the technology that's available, and really try and help people and be the good guys in a sea of bad guys, and really that's the key to standing out, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's it's a very interesting and very valid observation. I think, Mr. Al, particularly at the moment, it's just kind of what tends to happen, especially in bull markets, right? Because the incentives can be slightly skewed just because it is so easy to spin up some kind of new DeFi project and get a token, and if you can get it onto a Binance or something, as we've seen, just in the last week or two, all these new dog based coins that are kind of piggybacking on what's happened with Doge. It's it's quite interesting at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting, but at the end of the day, I'm really looking at like, is this actually benefiting the ecosystem, or is this just a gambling mechanism to let people be as degenerate as they want to be? And yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I gather by your comments then that you're more trying to build something that is of long-term value to the ecosystem, right?
Yeah, we have a couple goals, and one is it's long-term value, right? And bringing long-term value to the investors and the people that see the vision that we're trying to create. And then additionally, how do we build for both an up market and a down market? And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the protocol that we're deploying and developing, is that we can capture, the deltas of volatility in our protocol and return that to the long-term and short-term investor, regardless of the market. Like, we want people to use us in any kind of market conditions, because we really have a fine-tuned way to say that the yield is actually better during large movements, but we are completely agnostic to individual assets price action.
Yeah, that's right. And look, I was talking to a colleague at Brave New Coin yesterday, just as I was jotting down some notes before talking to you guys today. And he had a really interesting way of describing 0x nodes, and it's nice and simple. He simply said, look, this is the first middleware project since Chainlink that he thought has a universal use and is highly scalable. Do you kind of identify with that?
I mean, that's about as nice of a compliment as anybody can give you, to be compared to an absolute, legendary or titan industry native. But right now, honestly, like I'm completely heads down. I'm completely heads down in organizing and structuring the team, the company, the organization, the development, the marketing, the branding. And so, although it is flattering, I would say that just like a boxer walking into a ring, like I'm trying to really stay grounded and humble, because so many of these the circumstances coming up are just completely mind-boggling, like being on a Brave New Coin podcast or working with some of the just, like I said, legendary industry veterans that have decided to work with us and cooperate with us. It's a very humbling experience.
And really, this is about, I think there's a blog post you guys have written, and you talk about, one of the top 10 problems at the moment in DeFi or across crypto really is, this lack of interoperability between blockchains, right? And there's obviously, many different teams and projects that are working on this, and now including yourself. So I guess, put that into context with what you guys are building and how you're trying to solve that problem.
See, again, I think that really comes back to just a lot of us having years of technology experience and going back to actually developing internet routing protocols and looking at the landscape right now. A lot of people get roped into deploying and developing protocols to match what is on market right now, instead of trailblazing ahead or setting a standard for the way that would actually make this a more functional market. And I think that's a really fascinating market dynamic that allows for opportunity for people that want to think outside the box, and really it presents a lot of very lucrative opportunities. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean that it's the right way to do it.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, it's quite a technical discussion for anyone that's not, deep into the space, but that's really where Web3 needs to go, right? So, the analogy would be that eventually where DeFi needs to be is that people don't need to even know necessarily that they're interacting with a blockchain. Everything just needs to happen on the back end and feel as seamless as something like you and I talking on a Zoom call today. But we're not quite there yet, right?
No, we're not quite there yet. And from after working on the internet and software as a service companies and gaming companies for so long, I would definitely say that nothing has been as interesting as Web3 since the early to mid 90s. Like Web3 is absolutely fascinating, and watching the data move from traditional relational databases into the blockchain is going to be truly transformative for every end user on the internet. And but I think in order to get there, you need interoperability across blockchains, just because of the on-chain data that is now being siloed on a per blockchain basis. So having that interoperability actually work and functional is going to be key to Web3's success.
Yeah, that's right. And look, just today I see that, obviously Ethereum, in terms of price action or the market, it's doing extremely well. Obviously, hitting new time highs at just above $4,000 US, which is, it's quite amazing to see. But at the same time, Ethereum suddenly is almost unusable again today because, of course, of the gas fees. And yeah, it just feels like something has to give at some point.
So I was actually watching Mark Cuban talk a couple of weeks ago on a podcast, and he was talking about developing broadcast.com in the late 90s. And if you listen to him talk, he talks about building not for the bandwidth that is on market right now, but you build for the bandwidth that is coming in the future. And if you fundamentally believe that blockchain is the future and Web3 is going to be more effective than the current software as a service and internet technologies that exist on market today, then we should be building the software that we want to see work when the bandwidth catches up to the market and the software development. And to dive further into that analogy, that he was saying that when broadcast.com first came out, you couldn't get individual video streams on individual laptops and desktop PCs, but you could get a single stream working. So they would pile everybody into auditoriums to watch the stream, which is great. But just look where that technology went. If he hadn't pioneered in broadcast.com, would we have a YouTube? Would we have a Zoom? If you assume that the bandwidth isn't going to catch up to the technologies, then you're just stuck in the mud. We'll be playing Pac-Man still.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's a great analogy. And yeah, I mean, funny you should mention Mark Cuban. It's been fascinating to see, the journey of people like Mark, just sort of gone feet first down, not even necessarily the crypto rabbit hole, but deep into the Ethereum ecosystem, NFTs and DeFi, and even, carrying the torch as, someone who is obviously a billionaire and very well known, so has access to different media platforms and is prepared to go out there and, really fly the flag, if you like, for the broader DeFi movement, right?
This makes sense to anybody that's worked on the internet and looking at the blockchain or the Web3 technologies right now. This makes sense. And it makes sense that Andreessen Horowitz, Mark Cuban, Standard Crypto, all of these traditional VCs are looking at, we have invested in internet technologies for 10 years and 15 years, and they're looking at the state of that market in Silicon Valley and San Francisco right now. And they're looking at the innovation coming out of there. And yeah, you can skin a cat 12 different ways. It's great, this cloud thing, it's great, but it doesn't actually solve any problems after a while, right? And then you look at blockchain and you look at Web3 and you actually say, oh, like this is innovative. This is solving problems. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, and I think it's just more validation if any were needed, that we're all in the right space at the right time, building the right products for the future. Look, let's just bring it back to 0x nodes a little bit. So, you guys are building on Ethereum, and look, we're all agreed that Ethereum in its present state, if you like, does have its issues, but at the same time, boy, if you're talking about an exciting future, you couldn't ask for a better place to be. So, yeah, was that a sort of did you ever consider, not building on Ethereum, or looking at a different smart contract platform to begin with, or was Ethereum just always going to be the way to start?
It did. Everybody has come out of the woodwork to say, why are you deploying to mainnet first? Mainnet is unusable. ETH is trash. It's going to get left behind. It's the same narrative, and it's same narrative, different day. And we strongly believe that our strategy of deploying to ETH mainnet first, and the way that the second set of nodes is going to get deployed very quickly after ETH mainnet, it's going to make sense in hindsight. And what's the old saying? Like, in Roman times, where do you want to be? You want to be in Rome. And we believe ETH mainnet is Rome. And as our technical documentation comes out over the next few weeks, pre and post IDO, it's really going to make sense why we deploy ETH mainnet first, why we build liquidity on mainnet, and then very rapidly deploy a mesh network to the EVM networks. And you're going to see things like unidirectional yield aggregation. You're going to see remote chain aggregation strategies. And it's all going to make sense. Even if I went further down the rabbit hole of trying to explain it, until you actually see the 0x nodes network in action, it's just not going to make sense.
Sure. And just to bring it back to the beginning, and kind of make sure that everyone is on the same page here, and we do understand kind of the core use case, if you like, of 0x nodes. So I'd love you to just circle back again and just give one or two simple use cases that 0x nodes is designed to enable in your sort of your early rollout.
Yep. So this is going to look like single chain yield aggregators getting deployed at first. We're going to deploy to ETH mainnet, and then quickly within 2 months deploy FTM, Matic, BSC, Hecko, and OKX chain. And it's going to be just a massive amount of single node liquidity aggregators. But inside those liquidity aggregators have user interface and asset management interfaces. So you deploy your assets inside there on whatever chain that you're a maximalist of, if you have any maximalism inside your blood. And then you will be able to either use the default strategies that we have enabled, or build your own user strategies. And so if you are on FTM and you have assets on FTM through the 0x nodes interface, you will be able to deploy a custom or default strategy to BSC and aggregate yield to BSC, which will then pull that yield back into FTM. And the second stage of that is to set relayers up so you can actually redirect that strategy to your account on mainnet. And so through these connected nodes and all the protocol fees that are getting collected through all of the nodes, they're all getting shared. So anywhere you stake your BIOS on any network, you're getting a share of all of the protocol fees across the entire network.
Fantastic. And so you mentioned BIOS there, which and that's the token, right? So you better just explain how the token works in the ecosystem.
Yeah, so the token kind of works as a fuel. So you stake your BIOS inside our system, which unlocks a total amount of assets you can deploy into a liquidity aggregation system on a single chain. Through those assets, you go through and then you immediately start earning more BIOS, you earn more protocol fees, as well as unlock additional features inside the system. And you can move those assets directly into the asset management system, which then allows you to deploy custom strategies and yield aggregation strategies. So it's a pretty fun token.
Yes, indeed. So the token sounds very interesting, and I probably should have mentioned this at the start of the podcast. But I understand you guys are having an IDO very soon. You're looking to raise some capital. You've already raised some capital, so well, talk us through this process. So, what kind of fundraising have you done so far, and what and when and how does the IDO happen?
Yeah, so our fundraising has been extremely successful. We've done a private sale where we raised 3.7 million US in 19 days. And that is one of the most absolutely intense 19 days of my 40 years of existence on this planet. And we're quickly wrapping that into an IDO on the Samurai CFI platform. It's been a great experience working with the Samurai and the CFI guys. We have the utmost confidence in their platform, and we're looking to raise an additional 500,000 from the IDO.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at the Samurai platform at the moment. That is, yeah, I hadn't seen that before, but it is, it's a very slick looking website, isn't it? And so what's the idea? It says, so Samurai by CyberFi is a full suite decentralized cross-chain crowdfunding platform built for the evolution of DeFi, right? So, well, tell me what that means and how did you guys connect with Samurai? What's that process been like?
Yeah, so a very affluent angel investor inside the space who I will choose to leave unnamed actually introduced us to the guys over there and said, hey, I think your branding is a match. You know, these guys are more than capable. They're definitely hungry. You know, why don't you check them out and talk to them and just have a conversation. And so we started talking to them. We looked at their capabilities and you know what they're capable of, and we decided to give it a go. The IDO and launchpad space in crypto right now is very interesting. We talked to, I don't even know, like 7 or 8 different platforms, and you know, we decided to go with somebody that we felt was a fair shot at everybody getting on the wait list that met the standards that we had in place.
Yeah, nice. And so, well, just, you know, there'll be some people that are listening now that are probably potentially quite interested in participating here. So just talk us through the details. Just if, is it, number one, is it possible for people to participate? Any restrictions? And, you know, what should they do and where should they go if they want to potentially get involved with the 0x nodes IDO on the Samurai platform?
So unfortunately, the whitelisting just closed for our the lottery system that we have in place for choosing the participants in the IDO. We had some just astronomical amount of participants. I think the last number I saw was something of like 4,000 or 5,000 members trying to get whitelisted for the IDO. You know, the system they have in place right now is going to randomly select, you know, X number of participants that can buy up to X amount of BIOS token. And then we're going to put an absolutely smashing amount of liquidity on market on Sushi on May 18th. And the IDO it actually runs on May 17th. And see how it goes. Hopefully people like it.
Yeah, well, that'll be an interesting one to watch, certainly. All right, well, let's finish this off. Let's close out this part of the podcast, and then maybe we'll come back after a quick break. I think it'd be fun to do the very famous crypto conversation hot take round with you. But let's just have some you know, quick closing thoughts. Anything else you want to share on 0x nodes? What you guys have in the pipeline and on the product roadmap and why people should take notice?
Yeah. Our ethos is definitely keep the community on their toes and make sure that the community at large has access to us, to the founders, to the product map, and to any technology that we deploy. We just gave away about 15 grand in coded ciphers on our Twitter page. These are ever growing. I think the first one we did had about like $1,000 in it. The second one, 2,500. So they just keep growing. And we love giving back to the community. So keep an eye on our Twitter page. There's ciphers on there. There's wallets hidden. You never know what you're going to find if you look deep enough.
Fantastic. Okay, well, let's go to a very quick break, and look, we'll have links to your website and your Twitter accounts and all that in the show notes. But we'll be back in 1 second with the Crypto Conversation Hot Take Round.
In today's crypto market, the team at Brave New Coin are the sector's leading builders of custom crypto indices. BNC's powerful indexing engine draws on Brave New Coin's premium data to calculate high-frequency intraday and end-of-day indices for a wide range of index products. BNC's custom indices help you to gain exposure to the crypto assets class and track your performance against the market without having to become a stock picker. Not sure what you need? A Brave New Coin consultant can help you assess your requirements. Contact BNC today to find out more. Are you ready to trade the future of crypto today? Introducing Leverage, a self-custodial decentralized exchange that performs with the speed and features you're accustomed to. Leverage is fast. It's powered by Gluon, a revolutionary DeFi infrastructure that makes DeFi work at scale. It brings speed, transparency, and massive gas efficiencies to its users. Say goodbye to exchange hacks, front-running, Ethereum network congestion, and high fees. Leverage is the future of trading. It combines the best features of CeFi with all the benefits of DeFi. Like William Gibson said, the future is already here, but in this case, it's evenly distributed and completely decentralized. Go to leverage.io and trade the future of crypto today.
All right, we're back, and I'm with Owl, the mysterious Mr. Owl from the 0x Nodes cross-chain yield aggregation network. It's quite an exciting project, a lot of quiet buzz building around this one. But Mr. Owl, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Absolutely.
All right, just want your hot takes, your hot fire, take your best shot. Here we go. Mr. Owl, where do you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-coin opportunist spectrum?
Right in the middle.
Nice, all right. What would you say, however, is your firmest conviction, crypto opinion?
On a large enough time frame, BTC is up only.
Nice, I like it a lot. Up only indeed. All right, well, Bill Gates, Mr. Owl, he famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So whatever you like here, blockchain, Bitcoin, DeFi, 0x nodes, what does it look like in 10 years' time?
Web3 is prevalent. Software as a service and relational databases are outdated and antiquated. Flying cars, skyscrapers, neon lights, solve climate change.
I love it. Fantastic. All right. Well, that kind of brings us to our next question, slightly similar. So sci-fi author William Gibson, you will have heard this quote. He said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people just aren't really aware of it?
Bitcoin.
Very nice, very nice. I think most people are aware of it by now, but yeah, there's a lot of onboarding still to do, isn't there?
It's not evenly distributed, I'll tell you that.
That's exactly right. Okay, it's time to get weird, or even weirder, Mr. Owl. Let's zoom out. What do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
I see dystopia that leads to utopia. Very, very fervent believer in that.
Okay, interesting. I care to expand just slightly on that?
I think it's going to get a lot harder before it gets any better. But I think that when we come through on the other side, it's going to be a beautiful Norman Rockwell waiting for it.
Very nice, very nice. All right. Well, we have come to the end of the show, just about, Mr. Al. But look, the final question here is, what is your favorite science fiction book, a film, show, or universe?
A Neuromancer.
Nice. That's a William Gibson special, isn't it?
Yeah.
The birth of cyberpunk.
We actually used that exact same William Gibson quote in binary on our site. The future is here, it's just not evenly distributed. So that was hit very close to home for us. Very
nice, very nice. All right, well, yeah, it's always good to kind of weave those sci-fi, cyberpunk, references through crypto, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we've got a bright future ahead of us.
All right. Let's finish this off. Been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today, Mr. Al. Nothing else to say except, ask you to tell the people where they can go if they want to learn more about 0x nodes and kind of, dig into the technicals of what you guys are building. Yeah, 0xnodes.io, and our Twitter handle is 0x_nodes. And we're excited to have everybody join us on this journey. Awesome. Thanks very much, Al. We'll be watching with interest. Thanks, man. Great to meet you. All right. Well, there you go. That was today's show, today's episode with Mr. Al from 0x Nodes. That will be an interesting one to watch, I think. So yeah, if you want to learn more, links are in the show notes to their website, Twitter handle, all that good stuff. Thanks very much for listening. Don't forget, if you are a regular listener or want to be, please do subscribe to the Crypto Conversation podcast in whatever podcast app you are using. And if you want to get at me, just drop me an email, andy@bravenewcoin.com. But that is us for today. We are out of here. See you next time. Thanks for listening. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave and New Coin.